this bill is trying to address this issue, and that's why I support it. A lot of cases where the taxpayers have been offended. He's running a small business, maybe a restaurant, and a tax person comes, sits inside the restaurant, trying to see how many people are coming in, eating and probably eating what. And then that intruder, I would call him, comes up with what he believes is the income the person has got and uses that for taxing the person according to the report he sends to the tax authority. This procedure will avoid that. The system we must have, and which is being reflected here, is a system which is understandable by both sides, the tax collector's side and also the taxpayer's side. It should not be a system that's not reflecting human face in terms of operation. I believe this bill is going to get us out of that past. I know, and everybody agrees, that we must pay taxes in order that the government can have revenue that they can use for running the nation. And I tend to believe, while we are doing this, we should also look at the capacity of the taxpayer. And that's why I was talking of human face collection of taxes. When somebody is not having his own revenue to pay immediately, the tax person or the tax authority should give time for payment of this and even stagger the payment through installment method. This will leave the taxpayer with a capacity to continue with the business and pay tax even for the future. But if we try to descend upon the taxpayer with heaviness of authority, we may be killing the goose that lays the egg. I support this bill. The procedure is useful. The knowledge people should have on what they are to pay, when and by what time at the limit. All those put together in the act as we are trying to do is useful. Madam Speaker, I support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Sabina Chege, nominated member.
Thank you,
and whip for Jubilee Party.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, for Jubilee Party, just in case you didn't know. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And just to let you know that the Speaker is also a member of Jubilee Party, so we are third largest party in this House. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I will stand to support the Tax Procedures Amendment Bill number 2 of 2024. Madam Speaker, mine are going to be a few highlights here and there. First and foremost, Madam Speaker, to say I want to really commend the Treasury for reaching out to the public to find out what they really want from the payment of taxes. And I want to say that, Madam Speaker, if Kenyans committed in remitting taxes on time, at the end we might not even be able to add more taxes, and we can be able to survive with what we have. Madam Speaker, also when this bill addresses the shortcuts that people look for, and now there's clarity, there are clear guidelines on what to do, by what time, the issue of amnesty, the issue of penalties, the issue of the timelines. This is very important, Madam Speaker, so that the people who are either in business and they would want to seek for amnesty, or they would want even to write to the commissioner in case of many things that the colleagues have said, whether it's a holiday, whether it's somebody who is indisposed, and I'm in support of the honorable member who said sometimes somebody can fall sick. And in that case, Madam Speaker, then they are not able to remit their taxes. There should be a provision of that case, Madam Speaker. And I want to say taxes are not liked. And even in the Bible, I remember the tax collectors were not really loved. But it's also in the Bible that we are told you give to the Caesar what belongs to Caesar and to God what belongs to God. And so once we have clarity on how to pay the taxes, Madam Speaker, we will be able to collect more and not harass people. And at the same time, Madam Speaker, I also pray that whatever is paid or collected from the people, that it goes to the right use. I want to go to Section 5, Madam Speaker, where the Section 5 seeks to amend Section 42 of the Principal Act. And this is where it says a person who is required under this section to withhold tax and without reasonable cause fails to withhold the whole amount of the tax which should have been withheld, or fails to remit the amount of the withheld tax to the commissioner by the 5th working days after the deduction was made, shall be liable to penalty of 10% of the amount not withheld or remitted. So, Madam Speaker, we know there are some tax collectors who actually go and start harassing people and saying, if I give you, give me this, I may be able to give you this back. But when we have that clarity that is a percentage of 10%, then individuals will know, and the number of days are given by the 5th working day after the deduction was made. It is important that, Madam Speaker, that the people who are meant to remit, they remit the same. And there is also the issue about the refund of the overpaid tax, which is in Section Clause 6, which is amending Section 47, by saying for a refund of tax overpaid in case of an income tax within 5 years from the date on which the tax was overpaid, or in case of any other tax within 6 months from the date of which the tax was overpaid. Madam Speaker, the issue of electronic and reducing the human contact, because sometimes when there's a lot of human contact, we have seen not only in taxes, even in collection of the parking fee. Remember, Madam Speaker, the days that you would go park your car in town and somebody hides just to wait for you to look for him, and maybe you're in a hurry, you're going to an office, then they come back and clamp your car so that then you can be able to cough something out. So the issue of removal of human interaction with technology is commendable. And Madam Speaker, all that I hope is that also with technology, there are also loopholes that comes in. We hope then that they will also be able to secure that the tax money that is collected will not disappear. You know, also electronic has also its own challenges, Madam Speaker. The last one I want to comment about, which I really recommend, and this is very important for the taxpayers, is about the transaction for which a PIN is required, and why every Kenyan, especially who is of age, need a PIN. And it is important that people know, if you want to register a title or a stamping of instruments, you require a PIN. There's approval of development plans for anybody who wants to build, and payment of water deposit. You can imagine how many Kenyans pay water. It is important for Kenyans to know that the first schedule, it's giving clarity on transaction on which a PIN will be required. There's the issue of registration of a motor vehicle, transfer of motor vehicle and licensing of motor vehicles, registration of business names, registration of companies. And this also now addresses, Madam Speaker, I think 2 days or last week we had the issue of the startups, where we're also encouraging our young people to come up with startups, and we're coming up with how they can be able to be assisted. So it is important for even our young people to know that they require this PIN, so that as you register your business name, you will have a PIN, registration of companies, underwriting of insurances, trading license, importation of goods and custom clearing and forwarding, payment of deposits from power connections. It's very important, or contracts for the supply of goods and services to government ministries and public bodies. And remember, this house also provided for a specific percentage, that is 30%, to be given to our young people and the women in this country. Issues of opening account with financial institution, whether it's a bank or an investment bank, that you require to have a PIN, registration, renewal of membership by professional bodies and licensing agencies. That means if you would want to register as an engineer and as a nurse, any professional body that you require to have a PIN. Number 13 is interesting because there's registration of mobile cellular pay bill and till numbers by telecommunication operators, carrying out business over the internet or electronic network, and registration of a trust. So, Madam Speaker, we say lack of knowledge is what really makes people suffer. And so it is important that we provide this knowledge, and I'm commending Treasury for the same. And I hope once we become very clear, once we educate the public on the taxes and what is required on them, the public will have no issue once they know what is required and the timelines. So, Madam Speaker, I support the Tax Procedures Amendment Bill number 2 of 2024, and commend even the committee, the Treasury, and even this House for the commitment. And just to say, Madam Speaker, there's a lot of politics going on, but what is really happening in this House? A few weeks ago, yesterday we dealt with coffee, and these are the most important things that we have been sent by our representative to come and do this in this House. So I want even to commend my colleagues who are here this morning to make sure that we do what we were called to do for the nation. I thank you for the opportunity, and I support.
Thank you very much, Sabina Chege. The Honorable Dr. Makali Mulu, member for Kitui Central.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, I want to join my colleagues in appreciating the work which has gone into preparation of this bill, all the way from Treasury and to our own Committee on Finance and Planning. Honorable Speaker, the bill we are discussing is what we call the Tax Procedures Bill Amendment. And this basically, what it entails is making the procedures of tax payment simple, clear, and we ensure that we have no ambiguity. So any attempt towards improving the way taxes are processed in this country, Honorable Speaker, should be supported. And on that note, I do support. Because once we get this right, Honorable Speaker, it will be very easy for this country to collect taxes and more taxes. And I've said many times, Honorable Speaker, a taxpayer is like a milk cow. If you feed it well, it gives you a lot of milk. If you don't feed it, you don't get any milk from it. So the way you treat a taxpayer, Honorable Speaker, will determine how much taxes they will pay. So in a situation where you make it very simple that a taxpayer knows how much is expected to be paid, a taxpayer knows how much the penalty is if you pay late, a taxpayer knows the procedures for refund in case there's an overpayment, that makes it very easy for the taxpayer to continue paying without complaining, Honorable Speaker. So I just want to pick about 3 items in this bill, which I think are critical and which need to be supported so that we are able to collect more taxes. The first one, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of where you have overpaid and you need to be refunded. Honorable Speaker, that matter is very important. And I really agree that it should be done in time, in good time. And I was just asking myself, Honorable Speaker, in a situation where then Treasury delays the refund, would the taxpayer be demanding too much that even as they refund, they are also charged a tax to it, some interest to it? The same way, Treasury will tax a penalty, it will reimburse a penalty where there is delay in payment. I think that will then smoothen the process. The other matter which is important, Honorable Speaker, some of the delay in refunding is a result of there being no resources which are ready to refund the taxpayer when there is an overpayment. And I think as a country, we need to start thinking in the long run, can we have established what we call a tax refund fund? So that we have a fund, so that when you are due for refund, we don't start looking for the money that time. That will be critical, Honorable Speaker. The other matter, Honorable Speaker, which is important, is a delay in payment. And Honorable Speaker, what is happening in this country, for example, the VAT, we seriously need to think about what to do. Because the reason why many Kenyans are delaying repayment is because the people who are benefiting from the goods and services have not paid. For example, the government itself, look at the level of pending bills, Honorable Speaker. In a situation where we have pending bills to the tune of 600 billion, how would you expect somebody to pay VAT when they have not been paid. So we need to make sure that we are aligned, that we pay bills in time, and then we'll be able to collect money in time. Another thing, Honorable Speaker, amnesty is very important in any tax regime, in tax arrangement. But also, amnesty cannot be perpetual, Honorable Speaker, that is forever. So even as we discuss about amnesty, and that's why I agree that we need to have a fixed date when people should be able to clear. Otherwise, if you leave it open, then you actually collect less because people will never pay taxes in good time. And you know the way we prepare the taxes and the tax proposal, Honorable Speaker, they are also time bound. For example, you say in this year we'll be able to collect this. So if you are not able to have it time bound, it means you'll be collecting even later after the time is gone, and then you cannot project well what you are likely to be collecting, Honorable Speaker. The other matter which is important, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of withholding tax. You know, Honorable Speaker, in time you do some work, for example, consultancy, people will deduct the money from your money, and then you find that some companies or some organizations will not even remit that money to KRA. And a year or two later, you see getting a tax demand that you are not able, that money was not remitted, so you pay. So I think this penalty of 10%, Honorable Speaker, I support it. So that if you are a person who has been authorized to collect withholding tax, you should be able to remit it to Treasury in good time, so that you don't have you don't really harass the person who you have deducted the money from. My last point, Honorable Speaker, is this issue of the PIN. Honorable Speaker, you know it's good. We are saying we want to introduce the idea of PIN for Kenyans who are working remotely, people who are working remotely for a Kenyan company. That is very good. But also, I think we need a bit of clarity on this, and I wish the Finance Committee will be able to provide more clarity on this matter, because we could easily also, Honorable Speaker, punish Kenyans people who are out there, foreigners, who would want also to work for Kenyan companies. So that that matter becomes very clear. So that when I read that law, then I know that if I'm a foreigner and I want to work for a Kenyan company remotely, what are my tax demands? What is required of me in terms of tax payment? If we do it that way, Honorable Speaker, then we'll be doing the best thing for this country. And as you continue to speak, I think it's a learning curve. So that any tax procedure which seems to be complicated, can we on daily basis or on annual basis continue revising so that we make the whole process of taxation simple for Kenyans? We need clarity, we need simplicity, so that at the end of the day, people will know how much to pay, and we can then grow our economy. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Makali Mulu. The Honorable Ambassador Benjamin Langat, member for Enaimoi, also speaking for the committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving me this opportunity to discuss this tax procedures amendment bill. Madam Chair, previously we used to have every tax law had their own procedures in terms of when to pay, how to pay, what documents to file, Madam Speaker. But over time, Madam Speaker, it was agreed that we need to harmonize all the tax procedures to come under one law, which is the Tax Procedures Act, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Tax Procedures Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 46 of 2024, actually seeks to simplify further and clarify further several tax processes, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it provides for what should electronic tax invoice contain, again for standardization, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the bill, I'm just giving a summary of what the bill provides for before I go to the details. The bill provides for extension of the tax amnesty, especially considering the last experience, where, Madam Speaker, when we gave Kenyans a tax amnesty, the Kenya Revenue Authority were able to collect 43 billion shillings in taxes which had already, it was difficult to collect at that time, Madam Speaker. The bill sets a 10% penalty for VAT withholding agents. Madam Speaker, again, if you are an agent, you are collecting money, that's not your money, you are collecting on behalf of government. Then you delay or you fail to pay. Madam Speaker, you deserve to pay even more because that's not your money. You are deducting and not remitting to the KRA. Having said that, Madam Speaker, I just want to inform the House that according to our Constitution, Article 118, 1B, Parliament must facilitate public participation for all the bills that it is considering. And together with our standing orders 127.3 and 3A requires Parliament that we must do public participation. And I want to inform the House, Madam Speaker, that we did a very extensive public participation as a committee. Madam Speaker, we did 6 counties out of Nairobi. Madam Speaker, in Western Kenya, where I led a team of some of my members, we went to Bungoma, Madam Speaker. We went to Siaya, and we went to my own county of Kericho, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, if I just give a summary of what they say, Madam Speaker, all the places we went, they welcomed the tax amnesty extension. And Madam Speaker, I'll be giving shortly what we have discussed as a committee and what we intend to do at the relevant stage, that is the 3rd reading, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we also did a town hall meeting for the organized groups like the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, the Institute of Certified Public Accountants, the Law Society of Kenya, different audit firms, Madam Speaker, different tax consultancy companies, Madam Speaker, different sectors, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we then proceeded and considered all those matters which have been raised by individual organizations. And I want to confirm to them here, Madam Speaker, because when we went outside there, some Kenyans were trying to say, we know you are just doing an exercise. We know you have already made a decision. It's an exercise in futility, but I want to confirm that we have captured most of the views which we received from the public, including the ones we received in Nairobi, KICC, Madam Chair, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, having said that, I already said we went to Western, and also we went to Coastal Region, Taita Taveta, Isiolo, Madam Speaker. Having said that, Madam Speaker, let me run through the main provisions of the bill, clause by clause, again for the information of the House, very briefly. Madam Speaker, clause 2 of the bill seeks to amend the Tax Procedures Act to prescribe information to be contained by a tax invoice. Again, Madam Speaker, we said procedures must be clear. Kenyans must be sure that when they do this, it is within the law. So it provides the details which the electronic tax invoice should contain. Again, that is for clarity. Number 2, clause 3 seeks to amend section 7E of the Tax Procedures Act to extend the tax amnesty period from 30th June 2024 to 30th June 2025. Madam Speaker, this was a welcome move by all the stakeholders. And based on the prior experience of just the immediate tax amnesty period, KRA was able to collect slightly over 40 billion, Madam Speaker, on account of this tax amnesty. What is a tax amnesty, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, tax amnesty is where we are telling Kenyans, if you have outstanding taxes and you have been given penalties and interest, then by this law we are saying we are waiving the interest, we are waiving the penalties. Please pay the principal amount of tax that is due to KRA. Madam Speaker, I have had members talk here. And I want to say, this is the final call. Because again, Madam Speaker, if we keep extending the tax amnesty, it becomes the normal, Kenyans will be used to it, and no one will be paying taxes because they expect another tax amnesty maybe next year. Madam Speaker, I think as a committee we discussed and we agreed, this should be the final call. Those who have not paid, please by 30th of
a nutrition crisis
June
in collaboration with stakeholders.
That is the final
Question number
call.
3.
Please pay.
Response
by
number
this
3.
law we will waive the
A comprehensive report on all food security and drought resilient projects with corresponding budgets by both government and donor-funded projects that have been implemented or are ongoing in North Ore constituency and other ASAL regions. Honorable Speaker, the government approved funds for payment of salary arrears for employees of state-owned sugar companies. However, the funds are yet to be released due to lack of exchequer. They will be released as soon as the money is available. Statement number 4 that was sought is a comprehensive report on the status of sourcing a strategic partner to invest in the restoration of the company to profitability, hence improving the welfare of smallholder sugarcane farmers and employees of Sony Sugar.
Hold on. Honorable Brighton, that's the next statement. Are you sure of that? You have finished with one statement. Let us hear Honorable Ario whether he is satisfied. Take your seat, Honorable Brighton.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I've clearly listened to the response by the ministry. But unfortunately, the responses are inadequate and not satisfactory. If you look at the amount of money that has been allocated year in, year out, for the last several years, billions of money have been allocated for ASAL, especially for food security. But if you look at what happens every second year when you're experiencing drought in this country, we lose millions of livestock. People are dying. So the interventions that has been planned for is not really reflecting on the ground, as not really supporting the communities to be able to transition from doses of relief food to be food secure. So basically, I strongly feel that the amount of resources allocated is not really translating on the ground and it's not meeting the needs of the people in Dasal. So on this matter, I really request for the ministry to give us a concrete plans and strategies with timelines on when pastoralist communities in the ASAL will be made to stand on their own, produce their own food, and able to feed it. Because if you look at the ASAL of this country, the land is immense. Water potentials are quite immense. And the ASAL of this country can really feed this country. Instead of always giving us food, we really need the government to invest in infrastructure, in food security, so that pastoralist communities are able to produce their own food and feed this country. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Brighton.
Sorry, there was a mix-up with regards to question number 3. No, the response number 3 and 4. It continued with the sugar thing. And I think they were asking about comprehensive report on food security and drought resilient project. But my response to...
So are you confirming you haven't responded to number 3?
Yes, number 3, response to number 3 and 4. Number 3 and 4, because I don't have the original, request for statement. I only have number 1, 2, response to number 1 and 2. Number 3 and 4, I don't know whether in the original request, whether there was number 3 and 4, because they've continued with the issues of sugar, which will be responded to.
Honorable Ario, the issue of Sony Sugar is totally different. It's a question by Honorable Awino. It's totally different.
That's not mine, yes.
Yes. So, Honorable Ario, can you confirm if all the questions have been responded to? Because the clarification you have sought is not on the questions, it's on the visibility of the allocated funds on the ground.
Honorable Speaker, what I said, first, the issue of sugar is not my question. Secondly, what I wanted is, we wanted, over the years, if you look at what has been allocated and what has been implemented on the ground, it's not really commensurate. Most of these projects which has been detailed in the response, if you go on the ground, you will not find them. Because with the billions of money allocated for these food security projects, people in the ASAL are always facing perpetual food crisis. People are dying, livestock have perished, no restocking was done by the government. So basically, I strongly feel that the response is really inadequate and insufficient. Thank you.
We will make progress. Honorable Brighton, just for that clarification only, because the member is asking, what are the strategies from the ministry?
Yes, Madam Speaker. I want to respond this way, that we've called the relevant ministry to come and give us all the projects that are attached to the various programs that are ongoing in the ASAL region. For example, if it's emergency locust response project, we need to see which constituencies are benefiting and which specific projects are being implemented and where. And that is why we've invited the relevant ministry, because there was also a relevant question previously concerning the same, and we will combine both and make sure that we give justice to and proper response to the member.
Thank you, Committee of Agriculture. I think going forward, ensure you call the person who has requested the statement. Let Honorable Wario attend if that meeting is done, so that he can also put the question directly. I think it would help a lot so that you get clarity you're looking for. The next question by Honorable Walter Awino on the revival of South Nyanza Sugar Company, Sony Sugar, and other state-owned sugar mills. Still Committee of Agriculture. Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I stand pursuant to standing order number 44-2C on the issue that Honourable Walter Wino requested for a statement on 14th of November 2024 regarding the revival of Sony Sugar Company and other state-owned factories. The Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock Development responded as follows to the issues. Number one, on the outline of the plan in place by the ministry to urgently procure new crushing equipment for Sony Sugar Company to replace the old one, which was acquired in 1979 and now requires 400 million to maintain for maintenance and to keep on operating. The ministry responds that there is no plan by the government to buy new crushing equipment for the company. Plans are underway to lease the company and other government-owned sugar milling companies. There are 4 others. The leasing of the mills will inject private sector capital that will be used to modernize the mills and restore efficiency. The second issue that Honorable Walter was asking for was an immediate and long-term strategies the government plans to implement to curb the frequent equipment breakdown, which impacts heavily on the the company's output, and it results in low production and low morale among workers and farmers. And the response is as follows. The recently enacted Sugar Act number 11 of 2024 provides for sugar development levy. The Act appropriates 15% of the levy for factory development, rehabilitation, and maintenance. Sony Sugar Company will be able to access the funds to facilitate rehabilitation and factory maintenance. The third issue that Honorable Walter Wino had requested was be given the reasons why there has been delay in paying the outstanding salary arrears of 800 million Kenya shillings for Sony Sugar Company workers who in the past have endured various economic hardships and poor working conditions at the factory. And the response is as follows, Honorable Speaker. that the government approved funds for repayment of salaries, salary arrears for employees of state-owned sugar companies. However, the funds have not yet been released due to lack of exchequer. They will be released as soon as money is available. The fourth issue that the Honorable Walter Wino had asked was a comprehensive report on the status of sourcing of strategic partners to invest in restoration of the company to profitability, hence improving the welfare of smallholder sugar farmers and employees of the Sony Sugar Company. And the response is as follows. The Cabinet approved the write-off of debts owned by state-owned sugar companies in July 2023 and adopted the leasing model. Parliament approved the write-off of the debts, payment of suppliers, farmers, employees, and arrears in September 2023. The leasing model was adopted and a tender document prepared for a request for proposal to be led by the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. The request for proposal was floated with a closing date of 29th of February 2024. The process was, however, stalled due to a petition filed in court by Mr. Martin Nyongeza Barasa, citing lack of public participation in the leasing model. Stay orders were granted by the Honorable Justice Chacha Mwita. The matter has been heard and the ruling will be delivered on notice. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Awendo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I have gone through the response as read by the Honorable Mutunga. However, I am not satisfied, especially with the part of payment of salary arrears. They have indicated that they requested for money from the Treasury and they are still waiting for the money. Madam Speaker, they have not given us an indication on when this money is likely to be released or be paid to the farmers, considering that the farmers have been waiting for the same money for over 5 years, Madam Speaker. So I think it would be important if we get an indication on when these monies will be released, instead of telling us that they requested for money from the exchequer and they are still waiting for the same. And on the issue of leasing or rehabilitation of these factories, let us wait for the court ruling, which they said is supposed to be coming soon. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Mutunga, do you have the when?
Honorable Speaker, what the ministry says is that money is apportioned but not released. They do not have exchequer. And the exchequer is an ongoing concern. It's not something that they can give a definite date. I'm not defending the ministry, Honorable Speaker, but I will forward the request to the ministry to expedite the push for release of the exchequer so that they can pay this, the workers.
Member for Awendo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I don't know whether it is possible to get an indication of when, Mr. Mutunga, because this one without timeline or without time frame is very difficult. I don't know what is it that I'm going to tell the workers that have been waiting for payment of their salary arrears for years, that they are waiting for the exchequer. So we need to know. We are talking about salary for services that have already been rendered. So is it possible to know when the exchequer is going to release the funds? Thank you.
Chair, do you have anything more to add? Anything
I
more
do not,
useful?
I may not be able to competitively answer that question, Honorable Speaker. It's only the minister who can tell us.
I would propose that you get back to Treasury and you can get back to the member as soon as possible, considering that we are going for long recess by maybe tomorrow afternoon. The next statement is on the status of construction of Cheborge Junction, Kipwasituya Market Road, and the Sotik Silalo Road by Ambassador Sigei. Chair, Transport.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to respond to the statement request by Honorable Sigei, Ambassador. Honorable Speaker, on Thursday, 2nd October 2024, the member for Sotik, Honorable Sigei Francis Kipyegon, Arab MP, requested for a statement from the chairperson of the State Department, of Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure regarding unmarked bumps along the Chaboge Junction, Kipwasiria Market Road, and Sotik Siraro Road. To Honorable Speaker, in the statement, the member for Sotik, Honorable Sigei Francis, sought to establish, among other things, one, the challenges experienced by the project leading to prolonged delay in completing the upgrading of the said road, and whether the full contract sum for the project was paid to the contractor and the justification for payment despite the project being incomplete. 3, an update on when the contractor will resume the works and expected timeline for completion of the road, considering that the Sotik Silaro section is impassable. 4, the measures being taken by the Ministry of Roads and Transport to ensure that value for money is obtained with respect to the project without causing significant inconveniences to the locals, and alternative measures for the impassable sections of the road. Honorable Speaker, the committee received a response from the Ministry of Roads and Transport through the Clerk of the National Assembly, which I now wish to make. Honorable Speaker, with regard to the challenges experienced by the project leading to the prolonged delay in completion of the upgrading of the said road, the Ministry acknowledges that the project for the upgrading to bitumen standard and maintenance of Chaboge Junction has suffered prolonged delays in completion. The 18-month project, which commenced in August 2021, was intended to be completed in March 2023, but has since lasted 38 months. That is 211% time lapse. The main reason for the delay in completion of the project is due to inadequate financial capacity of the contractor, namely MSQ Construction Company Limited. 6, Honorable Speaker, concerning whether the full contract sum for the project was paid to the contractor and the justification for payment despite the project being incomplete, so far, Honorable Speaker, the contractor has been paid his advance payment amounting to Kenya shilling 59 million, and is contractually obligated. He has since not raised another certificate for processing and has consequently not been paid any further amount. Honorable Speaker, regarding the update on when the contractor will resume the works and the expected timeline for completion of the road, considering that the Sotik Silalo section is impassable, the Ministry through KERA served the contractor the requisite notice of slow progress in August 2022, thereby commencing the process of terminating the contract due to non-performance. Furthermore, the agency has convened a management meeting with the contractor with a view of identifying ways through which works at the project can be fast-tracked and completed in the shortest time possible. To this end, the contractor shall be further required to provide a detailed schedule of works with clear timelines for the completion of the project. In the event that there is no immediate improvement in progress, KERA shall invoke the relevant contractual clauses and initiate mutual termination of the contract with a view of repackaging the remainder of the works to form a new contract and proceed to identify a contractor through a competitive procurement process. Honorable Speaker, with regard to the measures being taken by the Ministry to ensure that value for money is obtained with respect to the project without causing significant inconveniences to the locals and alternative measures for the impassable section of the road, I would like to submit that the ministry commits to ensure that all works on the road adhere to acceptable engineering standards without fail to guarantee value for money at the project. This shall be through existing contractual and administrative controls that are designed to ensure the requisite quality is upheld. In regard to maintenance, the contractor is under instruction to maintain the entire road ahead of works and shall be tasked to prioritize ensuring mobility of the road in the immediate term. Honorable Speaker, I submit.
Ambassador Sigei, is that satisfactory?
Madam Speaker, I want to appreciate the answer from the Chair of Infrastructure. But, Madam Speaker, it has fallen far short of my satisfaction. Number one, since 2022, Madam Speaker, is a very long time, and nothing has happened. People are suffering. People are coming from Cheburga area, coming to Sotik. It's a big problem. Vehicles we have had breakdowns of vehicles passing that route, and there's a lot of wear and tear of the owners of vehicles in that road. Even passing there on foot is a big problem. So, Madam Speaker, I really want to ask the Chair to give me more information, especially on what he said, that the contractor have been instructed to continue maintaining the road. Madam Speaker, there is nothing going on. The road has never been maintained. It is in bad state, and I would like to know what can be done so that people can be passing there and do their business. Madam Speaker.
Chair.
Madam Speaker, I want to agree with the honorable member, and here we are dealing with a crooked contractor who has been paid money to commence his works at the project, but he has not done what is expected of him. So, Honorable Speaker, will do our best to ensure that this contractor either pays back money to government, to Kera, or he must do what is expected of him. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
There is always contractual responsibilities, and I think, Honorable Ambassador, the Chair has given a commitment that it will either be terminated or the person has to come to the ground. What I would ask is that, Chair, that you take it up to expedite from the ministry so that you lessen the suffering from Ambassador Sigei's people. Ambassador Sigei, you still have something else to ask?
Madam Speaker, I am satisfied, but really I want to know how people can be passing there comfortably. It's in bad state. Chair.
Do you have any mitigation, Honorable Chair?
Honorable Speaker, it is said that government exists to do the greatest good to the greatest number of its people. So we will ensure that the greatest good is done for the great people of Sotik. We'll do our best as a committee to help.
Thank you. Honorable members, we are done with statements. We'll go to the next order.
Order number 13, special motion, consideration of a nominee for appointment to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission.
Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs, will be done by the Vice Chair, Honorable Ekomas.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to move the following motion, that taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of a nominee for appointment as the Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 3rd December 2024, and pursuant to Article 250, Sub-Article 12 of the Constitution and Section 16(1) of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Act, Cap 7H, is read together with Section 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, Cap 7F. This House approves Mr. Abd Ahmed Mohamed, MBS, for appointment as the Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Madam Speaker, just briefly to state that the nominee, Mr. Abdi Mohamed Mahmoud, appeared before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, and the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee is satisfied that the nominee was recruited through an open, transparent, and competitive process in accordance with the relevant provisions of the law. The Justice and Legal Affairs Committee is equally satisfied that the nominee meets all the constitutional and statutory requirements, in particular, those on citizenship, leadership, ethics and integrity, and tax compliance.
Honorable Rahim, what is out of order? Hold on, Honorable Mutuse.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would want the chair to repeat the name because I think he has read the wrong name, which is not in the order paper.
Honorable Mutuse, you know, unlike the other time you are moving to remove someone from office, this you are putting into office, so be factual.
I am not sure the member was listening because I read the name of Mr. Abd Ahmed Mohamed, MBS, and that is what is in the order paper. That is what in the order paper.
It has been Honorable Rahim. It is not Mohammed, it's Mohamud as on the order paper.
In case of any doubt, the nominee who was vetted by the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee and who is in the order paper today, seeking approval of the House, is Mr. Abd Ahmed Mohamed, MBS.
Continue, Honorable Mutuse.
So as I was saying, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee is satisfied that one, the nominee was recruited through the correct statutory procedure. He was recruited openly, he was recruited transparently, and he was recruited competitively, and therefore satisfies the relevant provisions of the law. The Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs is equally satisfied that the nominee met the constitutional and statutory requirements for the appointment to the position of Chief Executive Officer of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, in particular, the provisions of the Constitution on citizenship, on leadership, on ethics and integrity, on tax compliance, as well as obligations to the Higher Education's Loans Board. We are also satisfied that the nominee has the relevant abilities, experience, qualities, and meets the needs of the office to which he has been appointed. Madam Speaker, for the benefit of members, the nominee has worked at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission for the last 19 years, occupying different positions as a senior investigator, as director of investigations, and currently as a deputy CEO. He is the first chief executive officer to be nominated and if approved to get office who has been working in EACC internally. The rest have all come from outside. And in our questioning during approval, we were satisfied that he has the necessary qualities to take the war on corruption forward. He did enumerate several achievements in terms of recovery of assets of about 4 billion shillings each year on cases that, as the Director of Investigations and the Deputy CEO, he has superintended all the way through courts so that illegally acquired public assets are recovered. And therefore, we now seek the House to approve Mr. Abd Ahmed Mohamed to be the next Secretary and CEO of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Madam Speaker, I now call upon the Chief Whip, the Honorable Member for
Honorable
Mugirago to second.
Hold on. Honorable member for Mavoko, what is out of order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, when I was listening to the mover, I didn't hear him point out how many nominees, how many persons had applied for that position. You only spoke of this gentleman who was the deputy of the outgoing CEO. I would have wanted to hear.
Honorable Mavoko, honorable member for Mavoko, hold on. Maybe the second I will give that information. So hold on, hold your horses. Honorable Mutuse.
Mr. Speaker, I think there will be time for debate, and the honorable member will be able to voice any concerns that he may have at the time of debate. Procedurally now is my time to move the motion. The motion gets seconded. You open debate. In case there are any issues, they will be raised during debate, and we will be able to respond adequately.
Yeah, but, I want to confirm that during the debate, you can actually respond to the issues as you reply.
As I will reply, we will respond to those issues. Yeah. With tremendous respect, you know, the member for Mavoko has been here for several years. So we now call upon the Chief Whip, the Honorable Osoro, to second.
Honorable Osoro.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as I rise to second, and also I may wish also to respond to my friend, the Honorable member for Mavoko, that what is before us, Honorable Speaker, is the report. On the interview, or rather the hearing that was done by the committee for the nominee, a specific nominee. As you may be aware, the committee on JLAC does not conduct an interview for all the nominees. So there was a nominee before us, and that is the nominee that we are debating about on his report and his suitability to hold the specific office. To the question on the others that showed interest, which is in public domain, there are other agencies that were mandated for that. That is why we have the board of the EACC chaired by Bishop Oginde, and they then submitted a nominee for vetting. And that is the report you are debating, Honorable Speaker, today. Honorable Speaker, I want to second this with tremendous respect and support entirely the report that the JLAC committee committed to and really did diligently. Honorable Speaker, the most important thing that should be stated is that there should be an element of motivation for junior officers whenever they work in public spaces. That if you are a junior officer or a junior nurse or a junior doctor in a hospital, your motivation is that someday you will rise through the ranks and become a CEO of a hospital. If there is no other reason that this House should support this candidate, Honorable Speaker, that should be the only reason. Besides everything, if nobody finds any other reason, this should be the reason. Why, Honorable Speaker? This particular officer, Honorable Speaker, started as a police officer. A career police officer, who has risen through the ranks. As a police officer, you all know the responsibilities of a police officer is to investigate, to do arrests, to take suspects to court. And this particular nominee, Honorable Speaker, started as a junior police officer, joined the service in 1999, rose through the ranks up to 2005. He became a regional manager of, when he moved now to the EACC, became a regional manager, then became in charge of the Coast region, became a senior officer, the rapid response of the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission from 2005 and 2012. I mean, this is a guy that has got institutional memory of the EACC, Honorable Speaker, that with the tip of his fingers, he can be able to highlight all the cases in the EACC. Because even as we speak, Honorable Speaker, the nominee acts as the director of investigations of the EACC. He's been serving in that capacity, Honorable Speaker, from 2012 to 2022. Honestly, what other motivation would you give a junior officer in the EACC other than promoting or rising or having this very senior officer rise through, become the CEO of that particular place, serve in his capacity as CEO, reorganize the structure because he knows the history, he has the facts in the office, and that is, Honorable Speaker, there wouldn't have been a better candidate to serve in this capacity, Honorable Speaker. And that is why when we looked at this report, Honorable Speaker, when we looked at his CV, we looked at his history, we looked at the way he handles questions and the way he answers, then we looked at his PR,
the way he talks to people, because an investigator is not just a commander. He's a person that really needs to be a person who's got some very good public relations as they do investigation. We couldn't find any reason to deny this candidate an opportunity to serve the country. Honorable Speaker, of importance is the fact that this particular nominee, Honorable Speaker, has never been mentioned on any matter to do with integrity. Serving under ESCC, Honorable Speaker, comes with temptations. We all know that we've got, people around who are engaged in corruption. And police officers and investigative agencies have in the past been accused of taking bribes, have in the past been accused of taking money so that they can be able to protect criminals and such like that. This is an officer, Honorable Speaker, that has served in his capacity as as Director of Investigation from 2012 to 2022 without a single complaint of any person raising the question of integrity about his character. Serving as a Director of Investigation, Honorable Speaker, comes with huge and immense responsibilities, where every file of investigation falls on your table. Every serious file of crimes, financial crimes and crimes, the economic crimes, Honorable Speaker, falls on your table. But it is quite applaudable, Honorable Speaker, that in his capacity, in this time of service of 10 years, not a single person has come or raised the question of his integrity. Even as we were doing this, when the memoranda was raised, when we invited members, Honorable Speaker, to raise the memoranda, to tell the people, of course, to bring forth their challenges or their complaints they may be having against the nominee, Honorable Speaker, not a single one brought the issue of integrity, not a single one brought the issue of bribery, not a single one complained and said, he was harassed when he was serving in this capacity. Honestly, Honorable Speaker, we want to urge this House that if there is a nominee or if there is a place that will serve, will be able to help this country, is by pushing a person that knows. He's actually a person who talks less, speaks less, but acts more. We have had a history under ESCC where we have had CEOs that talk too much, but they do little. You will see a lot in the ESCC. We only want to urge him, with going by the presidential address that was given, His Excellency the President read here, in the fight against corruption. Now that your body is independent, ESCC is independent, this House commits to even allocate you more funds. Please arrest, have several corrupt people arrested. Corrupt governors, corrupt CEOs, corrupt ministers, any person that is engaged in anything, corruption. Have them arrested, have them tried. I see, okay, let me not say that because there could be some interest and I don't want to say much. Somebody raised an issue and said, we are telling him to arrest so-and-so. And then they said, if he hasn't arrested so-and-so and he keeps working with him, I don't want to say who, but I'm sure he'll arrest all the corrupt officers and all those people that are engaged in matters of corruption. So with those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I request and urge this House to support this report, to approve this nominee. We have a lot of pending businesses about investigation. We have a lot of pending businesses on corruption that are already before the tables of ESCC. Please approve this great gentleman of this country. Let him serve. Go ye serve diligently. I beg to second, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, I therefore propose a question that, taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of a nominee for appointment as the Secretary/Chief Executive Officer of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, laid on the order, Honorable Anjala, order, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 3rd December 2024, and pursuant to Article 250(12) of the Constitution and Section 16(1) of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Act, Cap 7H, as read together with Section 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, Cap 7F, this House approves Mr. Abdi Ahmed Mohamud, MBS, for the appointment as the Secretary/Chief Executive Officer of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Honorable Dr. Makali Mulu.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the committee for the vetting process and their report. I've listened to the mover and the second, Honorable Speaker, and I think they have already prosecuted their case well, more so the second. You know the Chief Whip, the way he has presented this case, you would imagine that he knows this gentleman for many, many years. But I do agree that it is important for the country to see those people who have grown within the system being promoted. It gives them a lot of morale to work hard. It gives them hope because they know that one day you can be the CEO of the institution if you have just grown in the ranks, Honorable Speaker. And what is very interesting about this particular officer is that he has been in the investigative department for many, many years. So I know he knows what is supposed to be done. But Honorable Speaker, I want to share some statistics so that even as we approve this particular officer, because personally I have no problem with him taking over the position. But I think we need to put some statistics out there so that he knows what will be facing him in the very near future. Because I think, Honorable Speaker, the best way to test whether an institution is working is what Kenyans say about it. Honorable Speaker, every year, through Transparent International, we do conduct what we call Corruption Perception Index. Every year it comes out. And honorable members, it's important for you to note the following. The 2023 CPI, Corruption Perception Index for Kenya, where the range was from 0 to 100, where 0 means highly corrupt, and 100 stands for very clean. Kenya scored that one out of that range, way below the half mark, which means we are in the class of highly corrupt. In terms of countries, honorable members, Kenya was ranked 126 out of 180 countries. And that's what it says about this institution. We know, honorable members, corruption is a serious, serious problem to many countries. Why is it serious? It is serious because it diverts the resources, public resources, to the pockets of very few. And in that case, you are not able to grow the economy. You are not able to address issues of poverty. So, what it means, honorable members, is that this gentleman called Mr. Abdi Ahmed Mohamed, who is an insider and who knows a lot, he needs to be very much aware of these statistics. So as he takes over, the expectation of this house and the expectation of Kenyans would be able to see the CPI improving for this country. And the Chief Whip, I think it is important we note the baseline where he is starting. He is starting at the position 31, it is starting at the position 126. So that in 5 years, in 10 years, we'll be able to be able to measure his performance. And if we go that way, we'll be helping this country. So I really have no problem with this, him taking over the position, but I thought it is wise to share these statistics. But the last thing, Honorable Speaker, as I see it after supporting. Honorable Speaker, if you look at what has been happening in this country, the EACC and the DPP, the so-called Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, we have seen some exchange of letters which are not good for this country. And many years, we have been pushing that the EACC is given some prosecutorial powers so that they can investigate, arrest, and prosecute. But we know our constitution does not allow that. So that is a challenge which to some extent has to be addressed, Honorable Speaker, if we have to give teeth to this EACC. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support the appointment of Abdi Ahmed Mohamed and wish him well as he proves these statistics. I submit.
Major Bashir.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, first and foremost, I want to thank the Committee of Justice and Legal for a good report that they have presented, well articulated. And I want to, at the forefront, support the approval of Mr. Abdi Ahmed Mahmoud as EACC CEO. Honorable Speaker, this candidate or this individual has worked in EACC for a number of years. Actually, is an individual that has grown through the ranks to become the deputy CEO of the same institution. That gives hope to many Kenyans that you can rise from the bottom all the way up and be recognized and be appointed. Mr. Abdi has previously served as an investigator several years back. Over the years, he has never had integrity issues as he performs his duties. Mr. Abdi is a soft-spoken, but I know he can bite. I want to echo what the other Honorable have said on the issue of ACC's powers to prosecute. Remember, some times back, there were issues between the DPP and EACC. EACC work is to provide the file sent to DPP. That means they don't have prosecutorial powers. But remember, there are a number of properties that were recovered over the years by EACC to the tune of billions. And that docket was under Mr. Abdi Ahmed Mahmoud. I feel and I know that Mr. Ahmed will be able to perform his duties as CEO. He's an insider. He knows what goes inside the EACC. He has done it before, and I am 100% sure that he's able to do his work very well. So I want to urge this House, with all due respect, to ensure that let us support individuals who have risen through the ranks and worked in institutions to be promoted and appointed in those positions. Previously in this same House, we have made noise about people being brought outside from other institutions to head certain institutions which they have no history, no knowledge about it. But Mr. Abdi has vast knowledge of EACC, and he has done it his work well before being appointed as Deputy CEO. Before his appointment or this nomination, he was the Deputy CEO, just a heartbeat away from a CEO's position. That tells you he has performed very well and he can still perform as CEO. So with those few remarks, because I'm sure many members want to contribute, I want to urge this House to support the nomination of Mr. Abdi Ahmed Mahmoud as our next CEO, and I want to urge him also to ensure that he does his work well and ensure that with a soft-spoken, he must bite and fight corruption in this country. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Keses? If not in the House, we'll have the member for Buri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand to support the report of the committee. Madam Speaker, members of this assembly, the CEO of EACC will fight corruption being perpetuated by Kenyans of all origin. Madam Speaker, let us not try to look at Mr. Abdi as a Kenyan from a certain region. Madam Speaker, the mistake that we are going to do is to start now profiling some areas on some people. Let's look at Abdi as a Kenyan who deserves to serve this country. I'm convinced beyond reasonable doubt that Mr. Abdi has distinguished himself academically, and I really want to thank him because as a police officer who has served as a constable, a cadet all the way to senior superintendent, he possesses masters in law. He has attended various leadership programs in the world by FBI, Israel, just to name a few. This is one character that has brought out an image of what a real CEO in an institution like East Africa EACC. Madam Speaker, I stand because we are all fighting corruption. I am convinced beyond reasonable doubt that Mr. Abdi has the experience. He has grown within ASCC as an organization. He understands the operations, Madam Speaker. I haven't come across any objection when the process was going on to say that he is not qualified, that to say that he has no experience, to say that he has indicated that he is not going to succeed. I join the other members. Please, let's look at this case very objectively. I saw Abdi himself presenting and representing, defending the position of EACC. And I think from an institutional point of view, that is a person that we need to trust. Madam Speaker, I join to say this. Corruption has really messed up this country. Mr. Abdi knows the loopholes. I have looked at the document and I've seen that they asked him so many serious questions, particularly on areas that he has identified as the key loopholes for corruption in this country. Madam Speaker, I have noticed that he has come up with a very serious strategies on how to fight corruption. So, Madam Speaker, I'm asking these members, please, let's facilitate, fast track, and approve, because there is a lot of work that need to be done at the EACC. Secondly, Madam Speaker, there has always been conflict between the DPP and EACC. I believe, from what I've read from this report, that he is going to work out a structure, a relationship that is going to frustrate, that is not going to be conflicting every time. We saw sometimes back where the DCI and DPP, they were in conflict. We don't want people conflicting. What EACC is an independent organization. We trust in our EACC. We trust that they will fight corruption. There's somebody who was shouting and saying that we are giving this position to people from one region. I totally disagree with that statement. Although it was not on record, somebody was shouting. So we are not going that direction. We want to give this Kenya the best people, and we believe Abdi has the ability to do that. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, member for Honorable Umi, nominated Harun, nominated member.
Thank you, Speaker, for the chance. I just want to thank the committee for the great work they've done in considering this particular candidate for the position of CEO EACC. And I have followed the work that he has done, having grown through the ranks from the first time he joined the institution up to now. This is just very encouraging for people who are even working in other agencies, coming from junior ranks to become the CEO and to head the agencies. So I just want to appreciate the experience he brings to the institution, considering he has institutional memory. And if approved, I want to encourage him to ensure that all pending cases are executed with professionalism and that he's able to give the needed support that the country needs. I want to congratulate the CEO, and I wish him all the best if this House approves. And we hope that many will benefit from his experience. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Adagala.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, also to give me this opportunity to speak towards Abdi, who has been nominated and has been vetted by the Jailer Committee to take over the leadership of EACC. Madam Speaker, if I can remember in the last parliament, I was in Jailer when you were vetting the outgoing CEO. He promised to do exemplary work, which I have seen he has done. There is a lot of money which has been recovered, assets recovered, and a lot of other things that he has done. And I want to thank the Jailer Committee. When they vetted Abdi, they have given a good report, and we are very sure since Abdi was the assistant of the outgoing CEO, he has been working with him together, and I know he is going to do a good job. This is not an easy task. It will need dedication. It will need a lot of his time. It will consume a lot of his family time and his friends' time. He has to work well for this country because corruption and other related cases are the ills that are disturbing us in this country. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I want to say JLAC did a good work. They vetted this incoming. If this House approves him, we are very sure that he's going to do a good exemplary job from where the outgoing left, and he's going to do more. We have seen cases whereby there has been a lot of differing between DPP and the EACC. Right now, we are hoping they are going to work as one team to ensure that process of corruption and any other ill monies gotten from corrupt means should be recovered, and most cases should be followed and be handled in a very good manner. Therefore, I want to see the way he's going to work. If you look at him, he is risen throughout the ranks. And this one shows that any other person will be happy working in an organization, knowing very well you can rise from a junior rank to the next level, up to even including holding the CEO's position. Therefore, we as Kenyans, we want, on behalf of the people who voted for me, I want to say that I'm supporting this nominee, and as he takes over, let him do an exemplary work for the Kenyans. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support this JLAC report, and I support it. Thank you.
Thank you. The Father of the House, Honorable Kainan.
By tradition, thank you, Madam Speaker. By tradition, you should have started with that, so you are breaking the tradition.
Out of order, Honorable Kainan.
Anyway, let me go to this. I was just reminding you that, Madam Speaker, the history of EACC and the evolution has been. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Of course, she's asking me to thank you. I say thank you, Madam Speaker. The history of EACC. Can I have peace from my neighbors here? These good people from.
Honorable members, keep the consultations to the minimum. Honorable Kainan.
Madam Speaker, the history and evolution of EACC has been turbulent, has been confusing, but luckily, the current constitution, the framers of the current constitution have decided to put it in perspective. And courtesy of the same constitution, we have now a constitutional commission which is not at the direction of anybody. Only the constitution directs how that organization is going to be run. Madam Speaker, you're also aware that in the past, the leadership of this commission has also been dominated by people from the academia world, technocrats, and all of them who have not been insiders actually to the commission. Their performance, both summative and formative, Madam Speaker, is something that is well known to the people of Kenya. Madam Speaker, the current candidate meets, first of all the constitutional requirements from Chapter 10, Chapter 6, Article 77, Article 78, Article 118, Article 124, Article 232, Article 250, all the legal requirements. Two, the candidate has also all the educational requirements. In fact, if you look at the CV, the candidate is a practicing lawyer. The candidate has also a master's degree in security. The candidate has also a degree in public administration, meaning this is a go-getter. It's a person who has all the educational requirements. If you look at also this candidate has also been subjected to public vetting. He has also gone through all the necessary vetting requirements. He has also been vetted, cleared by all the critical investigative institutions. But Madam Speaker, what is consoling is this is the time when the commission and the appointing authority decided to reward professionalism, an insider, a person who has been part of the making of EACC. And I think that's what this institution lacks. And therefore, what it means is that there is respect for professionalism, both, you know, in an organogram, in an organizational structure, there is the vertical structure of the organization and the horizontal structure. That's a human resource term. Madam Speaker, once this candidate who has joined the investigative agencies, from a police officer, a cadet, all the way to an insider in the ACC, until today he is the acting CEO of EACC. It's a remarkable journey, Madam Speaker. And I want to thank the appointing authority, the panel that interviewed, for picking a candidate who is an insider, and I hope that is going to translate into action. Madam Speaker, on the face of it, the Kenyan society has been complaining. And I think we need to appreciate as leaders the changing dynamics of the Kenyan face, Madam Speaker. Today, as part of our governance platform, the social media effect is real. Anybody who wants to take the Kenyan community for a ride, we are not living in the past. The Kenyan society has changed. We must be part of the changing realities. What are the changing realities? We have a highly well-informed society. And even we as the leadership, we must take this into account, because if we don't change, we'll be changed by force. What are these changes? Everything that we used to hide under the carpet is now before the public domain. And therefore, what is our task? What is our responsibility as the leadership? Is to make sure we also align our thinking. We also align our behavioral activities. We also align our mandate with the changing realities of the people of Kenya. And I hope and pray that all of you will approve Abdi, because he has the competence. He has been an insider. He meets the professional qualification. He has met every aspect of the legal requirement. What is remaining, Madam Speaker? Because this organization, having seen and having reflected on the socio-economic and political dynamics of the Kenyan society, we need a neutral organization that deals with corruption on its own platform, not at the instigation of politicians. And that is why I'm happy, not at the instigation of any other person. That's why I'm happy today that there are categories of leadership that I describe as test tube leaders. Test tube leaders is one who is manufactured in the boardroom. But this is a self-made technocrat. And therefore it means objectively, realistically, constitutionally, statutorily, when he sits on an issue, that issue will get the best consideration. What is the best consideration? Objectivity, professionalism, legal mind, and application of the law without fear, without favor, without any consideration, without any other bias. And that's why this House, I want to urge this House to wholeheartedly support this, so that Abdi takes this organization to the next level. What is the next level? A level where every Kenyan is subject to the direction of a constitutional requirement. A level where every Kenyan will get a fair, objective treatment as dictated by the Constitution. With this, Madam Speaker, I support the approval and I support the report of the committee, and thank the committee for doing a good job within a very short time. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Rahim.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I join my colleagues in asking for the approval of Honorable or Mr. Abdi Ahmed Mahmood. Madam Speaker, a lot of other colleagues have said Mohammed. It's Mahmood. You know, they confuse Mahmood with Mohammed. But that notwithstanding, Mr. Mahmood is qualified and should be in that office by right, being the deputy CEO, and now he is the CEO. But Madam Speaker, we need to give EACC more teeth, and I hope the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee can work out something that we can have an amendment to the laws that EACC can be even prosecuting. Because we have seen recently, Madam Speaker, where the DPP withdraws a case right at the end, where the EACC has taken a case, it's in court, and right at the end, DPP just withdraws when one witness is left to testify. And I think that is completely wrong. And many a time, the courts have refused to withdraw cases by DPP even when EACC is not comfortable. So, Madam Speaker, with this, Mr. Abdi, I hope he can pursue the way Mr. Twalib was, and he can get down to work so that we can get the corruption suspects behind bars, and the DPP should not just be doing withdrawing cases, should go to the legal conclusion so that we can get this country corruption-free. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I join the others in asking for the approval.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I stand to support this motion. And Madam Speaker, I want to thank also the Committee of Justice and Legal Affairs for a job well done, for a thorough job that they have done, because their report is very clear on what their mandate was, Madam Speaker, Honorable Speaker. They have done a good job, because when I went through the report, Madam Speaker, they have looked at every aspect that is required to look into a nominee, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker, there is a Somali gathering here, Madam Speaker. I don't know what they are talking about in their mother tongue. Madam Speaker.
Member for Wajir West, you look like the chair of the Kamukunji. Keep the consultations as low as possible.
Yeah. So, Madam Speaker, the issue here we are looking at is the suitability of the nominee. Is he suitable for this job? Is he the right person? Does he have the right qualification? Does he have the requisite papers to do the work? Madam Speaker, all those boxes were ticked by the Committee of Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. Any other business here is sideshows, Madam Speaker. You don't get employment in Kenya because of the community you belong to. You get a job on merit. You get a job because you're qualified. You get a job because you can do it, Madam Speaker. You get a job because you are the right person to do that job. Madam Speaker, there were applicants that applied for this job. There were many. It was not only one person. There was a short list. There was a process that was followed. And the process, the job application was open to all Kenyans, Madam Speaker. And many Kenyans applied. And in their own wisdom, the recruiting people decided to shortlist and came up with his name and sent it to the president, and the president sent it to parliament for vetting. And what we are doing is the process of vetting, Madam Speaker. So the issue here we are looking at is the suitability of the person. And the person is suitable, Madam Speaker, because from the report of the committee, it's very clear that this is a veteran investigator, Madam Speaker. Is somebody who has spent all his life in doing this job of investigating people, in looking at corruption cases, criminal cases, and all kinds of things, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let us not derail. Let us not, dismiss merit just because of, ethnic, profiling and ethnic, sensationalization, Madam Speaker. We know in this country there are offices that have been occupied before by communities, people from the same community who are basically next to each other. Some of them from the same villages, Madam Speaker. And nobody complained. People say if they are qualified, let them do the job. What we are interested in is the qualification of the person, not where he comes from majorly. Because, Madam Speaker, we can only have one CEO. If there were 8 CEOs, then we can say, give every region one person. But, Madam Speaker, this is just one office. It must be occupied by one person at certain time for a period of 6 years. And for those people who are opposed to him because he wants, or within the course of duty, he testified against you, that is the nature of the game. That is his work. There's nothing we can do. When we were dismissing the former deputy president, he testified, Madam Speaker. Why? Because he was the acting CEO of the Anti-Corruption Commission, and he had to do his job. And it is Parliament that requested him to come and give evidence, Madam Speaker. He didn't come on his own volition. So, Madam Speaker, I want to urge members that this, as per the report of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, not my report, even though I'm a member of the committee, not the report of any other member here, the report of the committee that was given the mandate to go and inquire into the suitability of that candidate came back to this House with unanimously that this is the right person, he's qualified. Because I don't want to create a trend where you're going to profile people and deny them jobs because I'm worried for my child. After I leave office, my child might be brought here looking for a job and you say, oh, this is another Junet's son, he's from this community, that community. Myself, I don't represent my community. And I'm not interested in representing my community. And I will never do it. I am doing my third term. I have never been elected by my community. They will never elect me. I don't want them to elect me unless I'm running for president. When I want to run for president, they must elect me. That is a responsibility they must do. But when I want a member of parliament, I want to be a governor, I want to be a senator, I don't want their vote. I have other voters who are Christians, who are non-Somalis, who are Kenyans, who know what democracy is, who know what Kenya is, who know what cohesion is, who know what people living together is, Mr. Speaker. Not like my community and central, who keep on fighting over small things, over constituencies
What is out of order?
and municipalities, Madam Speaker.
What is out of order?
For the Honorable Junet, and I do know, me and him, originally, we come from Mandera. Originally, that's our birthplace. The person who has the first right over you is the person who has mentored you, the person who has taken you through the process until you become something that anybody will be very proud of. So Mzee Sheikh Noh and my good aunt and everybody else who mentored Junet at his tender age, proudly, let me finish. Proudly,
Honorable Kainan, order.
Until the point of order is this.
Order, Honorable Kainan.
Can I finish?
Order.
Can I finish?
Order, Honorable Kainan.
I'm coming to something.
I think you have already spoken to this motion. Honorable Junet has described his voters. I don't think anything is out of order at all. At all.
Can I finish?
At all.
Junet, is he in order? And this is the point. He is elected by the good people of Migori, that we appreciate. But he's also a product of a very good community called the Somali community.
Honorable Adan, Honorable Kainan. Out of order totally.
Is he in order to say that he's not their vote when they have been part and parcel of the making of the good Junet?
Out of order. You're out of order, Honorable Kainan. You have already, I think Honorable Junet was very clear. He has not denied his heritage. Yeah. He has only described his voters, which is totally acceptable. What is out of order, Honorable? What would be out of order, Honorable?
No, I am still on Honorable Junet, Honorable Speaker, because Honorable Junet has stated that he does not need votes from his people. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Junet has been voted by all the communities that live in Migori, including the Somali community. So which people was it? I wanted him to clarify, Honorable Speaker, that which particular people was he calling his people and not his people? Who are not his people? Who are not his people?
Honorable Junet, you have heard the 2 points of order.
Madam Speaker, let me respond to both of them. Madam Speaker, first.
Do you want to be informed by Honorable Member for Buri? Honorable Rindikiri. Give him the microphone.
What Honorable Junet is saying, he is not going to seek for elective position in Mandela, where he came from. If I got it right, and I'm sure that was he was implying. You will not go to Mandela, you will not go to where you belong to. Honorable Kainan should not fear anything. Junet is not going back to Mandela. Thank you, Madam.
I am not sure that information was for you, but I think he has helped you answer the question. So kindly continue.
I think the information was for Honorable Kainan. But Madam Speaker, you see, what Honorable Kainan is raising is what was raised when the Constitution was being passed. That does life begin at conception, when it is conceived, or when you are alive? So if he's talking about conceiving, that's a different matter. But when I am an old man like this, I belong to Migori. But more importantly, Madam Speaker, it is true I rely on the votes of all communities that live in my constituency. But I don't rely the votes of the Somali community to be a member of parliament in my constituency. It is negligent. It is small. It's minute. They cannot even make me an MCA. So I know where my voters are. Yeah, my voters are the people of Migori, all of them. But Madam Speaker, having said that, now I've lost my thought process, but I was saying that the candidate we are also today vetting or approving in this House, Madam Speaker, is a candidate who has all the required qualifications. But having said that, I also want to speak to the candidate that he must do his job. Kenyans expect whoever is given much. There's also a KC here conference, Madam Speaker. The Somali one was behind me, this KC now. Madam Speaker, the issue here is that he must do his job. Kenyans expect of him much. Whoever much is given, much is expected. One of the cancer that has eroded the gains of this country, Madam Speaker, is corruption. And he's the one now who's being mandated to do the fight against that vice. If he knows and his conscience is not clear that he's not able to do this job, let him decline taking up this job. But if his conscience is clear that I am capable, I can do it, I have done it before, I rose through the ranks in the institutions, from the assistant director to deputy CEO, and now the CEO, if you are approved by this House, and your conscience is clear that you can do this job, then take up the job, if this House approves you, which I am asking and requesting members, because of the report we have been given by the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, and the man has ticked all the boxes that were what was required of him, let us approve him, let him do the job. This is one institution that Kenyans are relying on to make their lives better, Madam Speaker. Because you know, it has been clear, it has been said before that a third of our budget, and even the current Minister for Finance said 2 billion shillings are lost every day through corruption. This is the man who can stop it. This is the man who can do the change that this country requires. This is the man who can make sure the resources of this country go to where it is needed, where you need to put your food where your mouth is, or your money where your mouth is. This is the man who can assure us doing that, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this institution called EACC has gone through many phases. I remember one time, Senior Counsel PLL Lumumba just ran away. Or the House brought a bill that removed him as a CEO because of the confusion that was there. He didn't know even how to deal with these people. People kept on talking about big fish, middle fish, small fish, white fish, black fish, all the fishes, Kamongo, in the Lake Victoria where we come from. Madam Speaker, this man, whom we are giving this job, if we approve him, Madam Speaker, must bring at least 70% of corruption cases to conclusion, Madam Speaker. Many of corruption cases in court have been lost because of evidence, because of other issues, but I want to assure him that he will get the support of this House financially through budgetary support to make sure that this vice called corruption is eradicated in this country, Madam Speaker. In conclusion, he must work together with the office of the DPP, Madam Speaker. The DPP is also new in office. I think it's barely a year. He's doing his work. We can't, a lot of corruption cases have been withdrawn recently after the new regime came into place. But Madam Speaker, some of them were said to have been removed for lack of evidence. Some of them were said that the witnesses withdrew their papers or their witness. We don't know. But what we know is that corruption must be fought. And no other person is chairing now the commissioner than a bishop, a man of high integrity, a man that is respected in this country, Madam Speaker, a chairman who has, good career in the religious sector, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I urge this House, let us pass this gentleman, because he has worked in this institution for long. He's a good man. He will do his job. So, Madam Speaker, and we will hold him accountable in this House, Mr. Speaker, because EACC reports to this House as a commission, as Chapter 15 commission. They are held accountable by Parliament. So we will hold him accountable through JLAC, through the floor of this House, Madam Speaker. But for now, since he is the best among the people who have been brought forward, I urge the House to approve him, Madam Speaker. With those few remarks, I support.
Honorable Dorothy Kiara.
Thank you, Honorable Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I too want to thank the chairperson, Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs, and the entire committee for job well done. Honorable Speaker, I wish to say this commission is the lifeline for us Kenyans. For us to be able, Honorable Speaker, to redeem the image of this country, corruption must be fought. For us to be able to assure the Kenyan community that things are working and make them have hope for a better future, corruption must be fought. Honorable Speaker, I know His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Honorable William Samoei Ruto, has pronounced himself on corruption, and he is very clear in his mind that there is zero tolerance to corruption. Honorable Chair, I must say on the outset, this is a commission that requires a very bold, committed, selfless, self-motivated individual, a person who is a daredevil, because the terrain of fighting corruption in Kenya is so complicated. And Honorable Speaker, I want to say this particular nominee has been proven because he has been in the system, he has the institutional memory, he has grown in the ranks, and we want to trust, Honorable Speaker, that he will be able to redeem the image of this country. Honorable Speaker, it is important for him, just like the minority leader has alluded to, he must know that the task ahead of him is enormous. Honorable Speaker, he must be ready to fight and break the cartels, and at the same time deliver this country from the tight chains of people who think that they own this country. Honorable Speaker, I want to state that corruption as we see today is so deep-rooted that even in the international community, we are being cited as one among the most corrupt countries. So, Honorable Speaker, as I support the committee and support this nominee, Honorable Speaker, I want to wish him well and trust that he will be able to take the mantle as the CEO of this very, very important body, and all our eyes are set on him, Honorable Speaker, and we wish him well. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. It's very nice to be back to this house after such a break. I know they've missed me here. But Honorable Speaker, for the person of Abdi Mohammed, Honorable Speaker, I want to unequivocally support this motion. Abdi is one such gentleman, is one such technocrat, is one such dedicated servant of this country, who if we put at the helm of the EACC, he will do a commendable job. Honorable Speaker, I want to, at the outset, to support the committee's report. I've read the committee's report, and I think they've done a wonderful job in assessing the quality of a person that we are putting in that office. And I want to urge members of this House, including my friend Elisha, to support Abdi Mohammed to be appointed the CEO of the EACC. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the curriculum vitae of this gentleman, he has a law degree. He has been properly trained, including training at the FBI. Very few Kenyans have been trained at the FBI. But this gentleman that we're putting in charge of the EACC has investigative authority and knowledge, ability that he will use to ensure that we cripple corruption in this country. Honorable Speaker, I also want to take this opportunity to thank the CEO that is leaving, the outgoing CEO, Twali Mbarak, who has been there, has held 40, and has done his best for the country. It is time that Abdi, who has risen in the ranks of the EACC, who has knowledge about this country and has knowledge about profiles of corruption in this country, we have to give him an opportunity to run that organization, take it to the next level, so that we be an example of how to fight corruption in Africa and in the world. And in the name of Abdi Mohammed, in his ability, and I believe that he can do a wonderful job for this country. Honorable Speaker, a lot of CEOs who come to that organization, get entangled by politicians, by many people, and they become very ineffective. But the time that Abdi has been in that organization, we have never seen any opportunity. We used to have a deputy CEO called Marebo, some name, Mabea, who was actually the face of corruption within the EACC. And he perpetrated that, including trying, Honorable Speaker. No. I can say that because, Honorable Speaker, the same deputy was taken to court on issues of corruption, Honorable Speaker. And those are facts, Honorable Speaker. But we have had Abdi, who has been there on that seat, and we have not had any issues, Honorable Speaker. And therefore...
Order, Deputy Majority Leader. Honorable Rahim, what is out of order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Deputy Majority Leader has to withdraw regarding Mr. Mobea, because if he is alleging that he was corrupt, he could not have been appointed he passed through this House to be appointed an ambassador for Ireland. So he has to withdraw, Madam Speaker. He has to.
Madam Speaker, the Deputy Majority Leader is my friend and a man I respect a lot. But Madam Speaker, I want to request him to withdraw, because this is a house of record and this is a house of procedure. Madam Speaker, without any substantiation, Madam Speaker, you cannot say Mr. Michael Mobea was the face of corruption. Michael Mobea is one of the most distinguished career anti-corruption, crusaders, Madam Speaker. And subsequently was appointed as an ambassador to the Ireland. Mr. Speaker, I think he's talking about another person. He might be confusing the names. But that is not the Mobea that we know. Madam Speaker, I request that will be expunged from the record of the House, Madam Speaker.
You have made your point. The Deputy Majority Leader be
Madam,
guided by Standing Order 91 on statement of facts, so that you're not injurious to the person of another person with no facts.
Honorable Speaker, I am not in the habit of withdrawing, but I want to withdraw that statement because of my respect for the leader. And also because of statement
continue,
of fact.
Honorable Owen, you don't have to justify. Just continue.
So I continue, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to say this, that I believe Abdi Mohammed, when he takes that position, he will ensure that there is integrity within the integrity community of EACC, because it has suffered a lot of backlash as an institution. It has been accused EACC has been accused as one of those institutions that has not fought corruption in this country vehemently. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to urge him as he takes over the mantle, and I want to ask members here to support him so that we appoint him, give him the job. But we'll hold him accountable for what happens in that EACC. A lot of the time, a lot of the issues that are said, this government is corrupt, this government there has a lot of corrupt officials, but we have an organization whose job is to ensure we do not get into that pitfall. So the contradiction that we have an organization well-funded, an organization well-established. It has been there for many years, and yet we hear that there's corruption in this government. Today, when you hear the churches speak, they talk about corruption in this government. They talk about corruption. But we have a corruption institution in this. What is it doing? So I want to say this, and I want to urge Abdi Mohammed, that as he takes over the mantle at EACC, he fights corruption with every drop of his blood to ensure that this country is not ranked anywhere among the corrupt countries. That everybody else that will speak about, he will say that action has been taken and those that are corrupt are in jail, and we do not have such things. Honorable Speaker, there have been many delays in terms of investigation. A case that takes, for example, 7 years to be investigated. We had this recent case where investigations went on and on until all witnesses died, and there was nothing else to do. We should never. Investigation must be expedited, people taken to court, so that this country You know, there's a time the former president said we lose 2 billion shillings a day. 2 billion shillings a day through corruption. But that's an indictment on the EACC. What are they doing? What are they doing? So I want to believe that as Abdi Mohammed is approved by this House and given the job, he will actually ensure that this country moves forward in the war against corruption, and that will be a corruption-free. We must cripple this animal called corruption. And I want to ask members of this House to support Abdi Mohammed so that he gets this job and he does a good job. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
For proper record, Honorable Owen, it's Mohamud, not Mohammed, as had been corrected by member Honorable Dawood. The next chance will go to Honorable CNN, Honorable member for Mwingi West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to this special motion by my brother and my friend, Honorable Mutuse. Together with the committee, I want to appreciate them for the due diligence they have done to vet this candidate for this critical, important office in our country. Madam Speaker, I would like to say that the person who is being discussed here is well known to me, and I have got no doubt he has got impeccable credentials to run this office if he is late and if he is actually enabled a given good environment, Madam Speaker, to execute his mandate. Madam Speaker, I will just point very well that in Kenya, we are ranked worldwide 126th out of 180. So we can call ourselves as one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Madam Speaker, there is uphill task there to do for this Mr. Abdi to make sure we improve, at least we go below 100% out of 100 out of 180. Madam Speaker, the issues of corruption has taken us backward as a country. And if we can fight corruption, we are going to eradicate issues of inequality. We are talking about equalization of funds. We are supposed to share our resources equitably so that we don't have to keep on allocating some of these funds, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have to emphasize the issues of transparency and accountability in our offices. And that is why we need this office, and it's very important to do it. Madam Speaker, there is an issue I want to raise with this office. Once this gentleman takes office, we have to fight extortion, which has been going on, and blackmail in most of our offices when it comes to issues of procurement, Madam Speaker. And without hesitation, because he's qualified and we have had his academic credentials, we have had his work experience, and he has been in that office for long, I would like to just congratulate him and let him assume this office, knowing that he has to improve our corruption index level from 126. We need to be reading below 50 out of 180. Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I fully support his appointment. Thank you.
Member for Wajir West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also add my voice to this report. From the onset, I want to thank the committee for approving and recommending Mr. Abdi Ahmed Mahmoud for the nominee of the office of the CEO of EACC. Madam Speaker, to start with, Mr. Abdi, as has been said by all the colleagues who spoke before me, was a career investigative officer. He started from a police officer. He went through the ranks to DCI, to, again, anti-corruption. I started with anti-corruption since the inception. He has been serving as the deputy CEO for the last 3-4 years. Mr. Abdi has clearly shown and expressed that he understands the process, the issues that pertains to corruption in this country. I have no doubt in my mind, Mr. Abdi will perform exceptionally well compared to the rest who served this position if he is appointed or approved today. Madam Speaker, Mr. Abdi not only ticking all the boxes, but also he has the academic and professional qualifications, as has been approved, has been indicated in this report by the committee. Mr. Abdi is a lawyer, he has a degree in law, he has masters, and he has the experience that is required to undertake this task. Mr. Abdi knows exactly what we need, what Kenyans need today. He has been in this game, he has been in the deputy CEO, he has tried his best according to what he has done. There is no iota of any wrongdoing in his character or anything. As has been said, Mr. Abdi being a Somali does not disqualify him or does not disqualify him being heading this specific docket. Mr. Abdi has came through all this not because of a Somali, because of a Kenyan. He has all the qualifications, he has all the credibility, he has all the integrity, and I am sure beyond reasonable doubt he will prove Kenyans that he's a Kenyan. He will, in fact, work hard to prove to Kenyans that anti-corruption for the first time can be changed from what it is to a better body that all Kenyans can rely on. As it has been said, that 2 billion Kenyan shillings is lost every day on corruption issues. It is unfortunate that we are in a country where 2 billion Kenyan shillings is wasted through corruption. And I want to urge my brother, Mr. Abdi, to pull up his socks, to know exactly what today he wants, to know exactly what Kenyans need him to do. Today, if he is approved, he should do things differently than has been done before. He should take the task as a gentleman, as a Kenyan, as a patriot, as a person with experience that was required to prove to Kenyans that Anti-Corruption Commission can do its work without political interference, without anybody's interference, and they can return the lost hope of Kenyans to this particular agency. I want to also advise our brother, Honorable Abdi. Others have come in. They have been approved in this house to head this same institution. And some of them failed terribly. And they left this docket while they were not happy. Therefore, I want to advise my brother also to kindly pull up your socks and you understand the circumstances, the issues, the problems that are facing Kenyans in terms of corruption issues. Kindly pull up your socks and make us proud, because Kenyans today are watching you. They have bestowed their trust on you. They are hoping that you are the right person to lead this institution to a better place than it is today. With those few remarks, I want to thank the committee for the good report and approving Mr. Abdi for this position. Thank you.
The next chance will go to the member for Katanga, Wakili Moreu.
My partner, I gave him an idea. I work here. It's giving.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to ventilate on this motion. I want to confirm that I'm a member of Justice and Legal Committee, which burnt the midnight oil to vet this candidate. And I want to assure the members that we are found in fit and proper to be the CEO for the next years in EACC. Madam Speaker, maybe allow me just to give this House a few statistics to be able to show the extent of the job ahead of Mr. Mahmoud. Kenya is number 31 in terms of corruption index from Transparency International, and on a larger scale internationally is number 126 against 180 countries. Madam Speaker, the success index for this candidate is to ensure that Kenya moves out of from number 126 to way below 100. The most clean countries out of corruption are Singapore, New Zealand, Finland, and also Transparency International says, or the reports indicate, that the most corrupt countries in the world are Syria, Southern Sudan, and Venezuela. But I'm Speaker, why I'm saying that is because I want the member, and in particular our committee, to know that the responsibility given to the sitting member, to the CEO, if this House is going to adopt this report, is that he has the corruption has an angle to the welfare of the country. The countries who have been mentioned to be most corrupt are the countries whereby they are poorest. The country whereby the index from Transparency International has said they are least corrupt, the standards of living of those people is very, very high. And therefore, Madam Speaker, the duty and responsibility of the CEO, if this House finds improper, is enormous, and we must make sure that that responsibility has come down. Madam Speaker, if I talk about corruption, Madam Speaker, is not a disease. It's not an issue of poverty. It is not a genetic inheritance that Kenya we are corrupt. Madam Speaker, corruption is just bad manners. Just bad manners, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, bad manners, the way to kill bad manners, I know there are courts, there are judicial process and the like, but also I want to urge the CEO to do differently from his predecessor. Bad manners can only be addressed by teaching people and linking corruption with poverty. We need to start curriculum in our schools to educate our children and our grandchildren that corruption will make this country remain poor. We will miss the opportunities in education. They will miss opportunities at the workplace. They will miss opportunities at the medical level. They will miss opportunities to fully be able to actualize their living. And therefore, Madam Speaker, why I'm saying that is because, again, we know that the proposed candidate has been the deputy CEO in EACC, and therefore the failings in that institution, Madam Speaker, the failings in that institution can also be associated with him. And therefore, I just want to challenge him. There's work ahead of him, but as a member of this committee, I the members support this motion. He's the best candidate we had, and I'm sure he's going to be able to change EACC and make Kenya a great country once again. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Funyula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me also take this opportunity to lend my voice on the motion before us, the appointment of Mr. Abdi Ahmed Mohamud, MBS, as Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, obviously of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, this commission is established pursuant to Article 79 of the Constitution of Kenya, and that's Chapter 6 of Leadership and Integrity. Honorable Speaker, the history of the fight against corruption in this country is a checkered history. It started during Moi days. It has gone all along. Regretfully and unfortunately, Honorable Speaker, is that the results have remained unsatisfactory in the eyes of Kenyans, has remained unsatisfactory in the national community, and probably is one of the reasons why our direct foreign investment have remained low because of various issues. Honorable Speaker, corruption is a cancer the country must fight. And when you look at various studies, Honorable Speaker, it indicates that corruption comes in different forms. Comes in the forms of bribery, comes in the forms of embezzlement, comes in the forms of graft, comes in the forms of blackmail, and most importantly, Honorable Speaker, comes in the form of influence peddling and abuse of discretion. We just hope and pray that the new man in charge will have the guts, will have the courage, will have all that it takes to slay this dragon of corruption, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, many Kenyans have lost hope, have lost confidence in the government of whichever level because of corruption. Many cases, Honorable Speaker, invariably, when you go to a public office, before getting service, you will be expected to part with something to oil the process. Even getting a letter moving from one point to another to get approval, you will not be surprised if even a junior officer asks you for a bribe. Honorable Speaker, it's so ingrained in this country, it has gotten to a level that nobody believes that you can get an appointment or anything in this country unless and until you know somebody in this country. Honorable Speaker, just a few minutes ago, a teacher has called me that she has been told that members of parliament have got letters of appointment for teachers. That she has been told TSC cannot employ you unless the member of parliament has given you a letter for employment. This mentality, Honorable Speaker, that nobody can get anything based on merit is something this commission must fight. Probably this commission is so focused on a narrow prism of their mandate, yet their mandate is so wide, literally covers everything under the ethics and leadership chapter. We just want to wish him well and ask him, go open your mind, Honorable Speaker. We lose a lot of money in this country. Honorable Speaker, if you walk to any hospital in this country, owned by the local government, the county government, or the national government, most likely you'll find no drugs. You'll find nothing. Yet we pump money every day into these sectors. Honorable Speaker, it is time to go and work. It's time for Mr. Mohammed to go and work. Forget the ethnic, forget the political networks, just simply go and work and net the grafters, those who believe, who are involved in corruption. There is a lot of wastage in our county governments. There's a lot of wastage even in the national government. There's a lot of wastage in state corporations. Train your eyes there, save this country, we'll develop. If we can save the amount that is supposedly lost every single year through corruption, through budgeted corruption, review everything so that we save this country. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support.
The Deputy Majority Whip, Member for Marsabit.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to this very important motion. And I join the other honorable members in approving and supporting this motion of approving the CEO, Mr. Abdi Mohammed. Honorable Speaker, I have gone through the report and the committee has done a good job. They have given his recommendation. They have taken every step that needs to be taken, and that is why I also want to congratulate the committee for the job well done. Honorable Speaker, as we recommend him for the position, we must speak on corruption just as many others have done. Corruption in this country has destroyed our economy, has destroyed the future of many young people, has destroyed the the progress in our country in many ways. Simply because everywhere you go, from the entrance to the top office, people need to be bribed. And Kenya is known for that. It is like a cancer that has no treatment. But we believe that Mr. Abdi will now change a lot of things because he's qualified, he is experienced, and he's also committed and passionate on transforming ethics and anti-corruption. Honorable Speaker, the unfortunate bit is for the last many years, we have pretended to be fighting corruption, but we have not achieved. And the question is why? What is hindering us? And the answer is we have not gotten a committed person to that office, in that office, who can fight corruption to the end. And as we encourage him to fight corruption, he needs a lot of our support, security, because most of these corrupt people can even decide to do away with you and finish you. And if the government can give him enough security, enough resources, because many files are there, but unfortunately they have not been prosecuted. So we need enough funding for this office, for this person and these people, so that they can do at least what we expect them to do. Honorable Speaker, it is unfortunate because today in Kenya, if you want your child to go to one of the best schools in the country, you must corrupt the system. If you want your child to pass previously, you must corrupt the system. If you want to buy anything from outside and bring to the country, you must corrupt the system. It is a system that has destroyed our country, and today, many religious leaders speak about corruption. But my question is, did corruption begin today? It began so many years ago. Since 1963, corruption has been there. And many people today accuse Kenya Kwanza government for corruption. And yet, this government has been in the office for only 2 years. Our president has been at forefront, fighting corruption and declaring his stand on corruption. But many people blame the government, saying that Kenya Kwanza government is a corrupt government. And yet, the many governments that have been there have always gone through this, and we cannot see much criticism as we are receiving. I know it is good to criticize the government, it is good to rebuke, and it is good for the government to listen to the ground and change. But it is as if corruption has just started. Unfortunately, corruption has been there. And if we are condemning this government, where have we been the other many years that has passed? And even for ethics and anti-corruption, that has been there for centuries and have not made serious steps, or has not done serious investigation, has not prosecuted anybody. I must say that as a nation, as parliament, we must say that we need serious report at the end of every year so that those people who have been found guilty can be presented to the relevant committee. Honorable Speaker, when devolution came, when our Constitution 2010 gave us devolution, it is like corruption was also devolved. There is even much corruption in the counties than at the national level. And the question, everybody is saying, okay, it is a corrupt, for you to win a tender, you must pay 10%, 15%. Where are we headed to? The young generation are looking for the money to buy the tenders, to corrupt the leaders so that they can do shoddy work. A lot of money has been going to the counties, but it cannot be accounted for, simply because corruption has been devolved. And my prayer to Abdi as he takes of this office, because he knows what is happening in all the counties. The idea of having ethics and anti-corruption at the regional level or in different areas And yet we know very well that those officers have been corrupted and they are like paid by the individuals in the counties so that they don't take any action. We don't want to hear any of that. Let him be firm, let him take the necessary actions, let him also apply serious measures so that the corrupt leaders and the governors and the system at the county levels can also be controlled. If we don't do that, the idea of saying let us fight corruption, we all sing the chorus that we need to fight corruption and we need to fight corruption, but no one is taking a serious action. And that is why today, Abdi, expectation is high on you. Kenyans have a lot of hope, and we expect you to take some serious measures on the corrupt leaders, be it politicians, be it government officers, or anybody. We need to take some serious action. And what Kenyans want today, and especially with the taxation that is there, we are giving a lot of money, but everybody is wondering where this money is going to. And the many people say it is the corrupt system that consumes our money. Let us make sure that Kenyans give their money, but accountability must also be there. Kenyans are ready to sacrifice, but we must also sacrifice and make sure that corrupt leaders will be brought to books. Honorable Speaker, we cannot keep talking about this, but Abdi, as we are putting a lot of hope in him, must join us in transforming this country and making sure that Kenya is free of corruption. Thank you, and I support.
Major Deko.
I think is it Cup of Nations or World Cup for the first time women football na ni GUS. So unapata bado it's the first time.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to the motion that is on the floor of the House. Madam Speaker, many of those who are before me talked about Abdi, and I also want to say I also know Abdi as an individual, and who has served in many years in the investigative department of this country, having been a police officer, young police officer, risen through the ranks to head anti-corruption police unit before EACC came into being, and also one of the officers who established anti-corruption commission in this country. I am not surprised in the nomination of Abdi, having known him for many years, and I'm not surprised also the fact that he was was selected and nominated by Anti-Corruption Commission. That office is not a political appointment office. If it was have been a political appointment office, maybe the result will have been different from what we are discussing today. By virtue of him as a career civil servant in this country, and who has sacrificed his time and energy in being in the forefront against the fight on corruption, an EACC commission itself mandated to fight corruption, I did not expect any result from what they have given us as a nominee for the Anti-Corruption Commission. Madam Speaker, Abdi cannot be the sole person who is expected to fight corruption in this country. This country, the issue of corruption is a cancer, it's a threat to our national security, it's a threat to our national values as a country, it's a threat to our service delivery, it is a threat to our coexistence as communities and society in this country. Corruption destroys the future of our next generation, and as a country we must think twice on how to fight this issue. It is not the responsibility, it cannot be the responsibility of Abdi, it cannot be the responsibility of the president of this country, it cannot be the responsibility of individuals in this country. We must ask ourselves who are these, those who are involved in these things. It looks like it is every sector of this society that is involved in the corruption. This is a network, it's a cartel, and that cannot be left to an individual like Abdi and his commission and his staff. they must address the issue of involvement of many professional bodies for it to happen. What is the role of lawyers in this country as a professional group in the fight against corruption, or involvement in the corruption itself, the involvement of engineers, the involvement of finance and accounts people, the involvement of HR personnel, the involvement of teaching fraternities, the security agencies who are involved, and even the investigation agencies involved in this, and the DPP itself. So we must bring all these sectors and groups and professionals into play to understand how we will stop this issue. It cannot be left to Abdi as an individual, as a commission. Madam Speaker, us as a parliament, we must also come in the forefront against the fight against corruption. We must fund that institution so that they perform their mandate. If we do not give them the enough required resources, they will not be able to fight this vice or this cancer that is affecting our country. With those few remarks, I stand to support the nomination of Abdi, and I have no doubt in my mind Abdi will perform his role. He will perform his role, but we must all play as a country. And I also want to advise Abdi as a CEO. Kenyans have lost faith in all the institutions that in this country, from the presidency, from parliament, from the executive, the judiciary. Every institution of this country, Kenyans have lost faith and hope in it. It is for him to restore that faith in his institution. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Ijara.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute this particular motion, which is a very important motion in our country. First, I would like to appreciate and congratulate the Committee for Justice and Legal Affairs for conducting a thorough vetting processes and presenting a comprehensive report on the nominee. It is clear from their finding that Mr. Ahmed Mahmoud is a man of integrity, competence, and committed to the public service. Madam Speaker, Mr. Ahmed hails from Ijara constituency, a fact that fills us with pride as a community. And in his previous role as a regional commissioner, as a senior investigator, as a director, and as a deputy CEO of EACC, Mr. Ahmed demonstrated...
There is a point of order. Honorable Major Deko, what is out of order?
The Member of Parliament for Ijara constituency is misleading the House in the fact that Abdi Ahmed Mahmoud, the current nominee for EACC, comes from Ijara constituency. Abdi Ahmed Mahmoud is a voter in Garissa town constituency, and he votes in polling station Garissa Government Guest House. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Ijara, I think we are going to have a friendly fire here, but I think one of them will have to give in. But Honorable Member for Ijara, does he come from your constituency or from Garissa town?
I think, Madam Speaker, I want to say and make it categorically very clear in front of this House that Mr. Ahmed comes from Ijara constituency. In terms of the genetical and geographical location, Ahmed belongs to Garissa County, belongs to Asal counties, belongs to Ijara. But even if he's a Kenyan...
Honorable Member for Ijara, I think let's agree. Mr. Mohamud belongs to all of us.
Yes.
Please, he belongs to Kenya.
Okay.
Please continue.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Mahmoud is a Kenyan, and he belongs to all of us, and I support that. So I want to say that in his previous role as a deputy CEO at EACC, Mr. Ahmed demonstrated extraordinary leadership. He spearheaded initiative to enhance public accountability, streamline institutional process, and build partnership to combat corruption. So and I believe if given an opportunity, Mr. Ahmed will not let down the Kenyans, and corruption is a menace. It is what is killing our generation, and I believe with the capacity and experience of over 19 years as an investigator and within the system, Mr. Ahmed will make sure era of corruption ends in this country. And if you check back the collision, the KK collision, it is very clear that our president and our coalitions, we want a zero tolerance to corruption. And through Ahmed and EACC as a commission, with an extra budgetary allocation, I believe Mr. Ahmed will deliver. And Kenyans, I want to tell Mr. Ahmed that Kenyans have high hope in your leadership. And it is your opportunity to make sure that Kenyans are satisfied with your work, and I believe you can do. Without few remarks, I want to request a support on the House, from the House to support Mr. Ahmed as the CEO of ESC. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I rise on Standing Order 95, reading the mood of the House. The majority of the members are in agreement with the Committee of Legal and Justice Affairs that Mr. Ahmed Abdi be the secretary of the EACC. The mover be called to reply, Madam Speaker, so that we make sure that Mr. Ahmed, in the next few days, he takes the oath of office and make sure that he continues being
Honorable Kawanjiko, do not take the shortcut to debate. You move that the mover be called to reply. I will put the question to the House as is on the Standing Order 95. So the House will make the decision. Honorable members, order. Honorable Dena, the speaker is on, you cannot possibly rise on a point of order. Honorable Kwenya, you do not shout in the House. We do things in decorum. Therefore, honorable members, I will put the question that the mover be called to reply. As many as are of that opinion say aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Mutuse.
No.
Honorable Mutuse, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I noticed that there is a lot of enthusiasm on this issue. But be that as it may be, the matter must also come to an end. And therefore, in respecting the mood of the House, that we put this matter to closure, honorable members, including those who are my very good friends, allow me to reply as follows.
Honorable members, please be guided that debate closure under Standing Order 95. You cannot donate minutes. Let me put that to close.
We are not able
Kindly
to donate
reply.
minutes, and I am properly guided. I want to thank honorable members for the robust debate and for the robust contributions to the debate on the approval and appointment of Mr. Abd Mohamud to be the next CEO of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. In doing so, the honorable member from Mavoko constituency did ask whether there were other people who also competed for the same position. And Madam Speaker, I want to inform the House that upon the placement of the advert, a total of 172 Kenyans did apply for this position. 14 were shortlisted by the commission, and upon interviews, Mr. Abdi Ahmed emerged the best, scoring 83.5% among the 14 who had been shortlisted. Mr. Makali Mulu also gave us statistics upon which the basis for Mr. Abd Ahmed's work will be predicated, and we thank him for that. in terms of the several members who have spoken to the question of EACC being given prosecution powers, you are aware that prosecutorial powers emanate from Article 157 of the Constitution, and this question was actually put to the nominee, and I want to refer you to paragraph 60 of our report. And in paragraph 60 of our report, we are recommending, as the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, that the DPP does gazette lawyers working under EACC as prosecutors, because the DPP has that power to gazette prosecutors, so that lawyers who interact with cases at EACC may also have the opportunity to prosecute the same cases in court. Madam Speaker, I now wish to reply and request that at the appropriate time, the House does approve the appointment of Mr. Abdi Mohamed, so that at the appropriate time, he takes over from the current CEO, even as we congratulate him towards the end of his contract. Thank you, and I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Therefore, I put the questions, honorable members. Allow me to put the question that, taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of a nominee for appointment as the Secretary/Chief Executive Officer of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 3rd December 2024, and pursuant to Article 250(12) of the Constitution and Section 16(1) of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Act, Cap 7H, as read together with Sections 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, Cap 7F, this House approves Mr. Abdi Ahmed Mohamud, MBS, for appointment as the Secretary/Chief Executive Officer of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. As many as are of that opinion say aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it.
Order number 14, Committee of the Whole House.